This is day 3 of the February 93 7-day retreat in Springwater. Frankly, I get very discouraged. There are always the same thoughts, the constant reactions. Nothing really changes. And then the thought often comes, what's the use? Why am I doing this? What am I doing? I might as well be somewhere else. I don't have to worry about what's going on with myself. Does this or part of this sound familiar? Maybe not today, maybe not for everyone, maybe tomorrow for the one for who it is not so today. The repetitiveness of it all, the person said. I also said, I don't see how you can take it, the same such and such all the time. I can give a very simple answer to that question. How can you take it? The same bullshit all the time. That was the word. It's always fresh bullshit. It's always fresh. And there's not a pat answer. Because I wouldn't use this word, not a particular word, but why judge it? That's what's going on in the mind. Thoughts. How can I say it's the same? Well, because I remember similar thoughts in the past. But I'm already on shaky ground. These are not the same thoughts. What's happening right now in this magical thing named thought or imaging, seeing something in one's mind's eye, which is really like magic. Right now we could see, if we've ever been here before, the trees in bloom, and leaves, flowers. Our border in the spring has tulips coming up, and snowdrops, and wood hyacinths, all kinds of colors. We can see it right now. The thought can happen. How? Nobody really knows. Very little known about this yet. Maybe never will. But seeing right now the border in bloom, or looking out and seeing the snow, the fogginess, these trees without leaves, their silhouettes, it's not what I saw yesterday. It's not what I saw a moment ago. This is fresh and new. Never happened before. And in that state of being, of seeing and listening anew, there is no irritation with someone saying something that has been said before. That is not a problem. So don't ever worry about coming in because you have the same BS. It doesn't matter to me. We're looking at something freshly. You and I are fresh people right now. Even though we don't think we are, that's why we're not, because we don't think we are. Because we think we are what we think. Which is not what we are. So what are we? when we're not what we think? And that's a big question, which could be lightly kept open in this body-mind. So, as the person reported, the same thoughts, same imagery, same fantasy, all the same repetitiveness over and over. Why am I doing this? What's the use? Can we get a feeling right now for the fact that this is a wrong question? Leading to frustration, irritation, despair. Can one see the question come up as just another bunch of snowflakes? I don't know what's the use. I don't know what's the use of the snow falling, or the wind howling, or the tulips coming through in the spring and opening up, blooming, petals falling, some fruit forming on the top of the stalk. What's the use of it? I don't know. Is that our problem, that we ask this question too often? Demanding of an answer. Which no one really can give us. And what about sitting in a retreat on day 3? Thoughts, images, fantasies, reactions to other people. What prevents us from just letting that happen? The thoughts, the images, the reactions, the physical involvement that happens. Letting it happen and not be totally asleep as it happens. Be somewhat aware, at times more, at times less, at times very clear, at other times very dark, drowsy. But not narrowing everything down with judgment and expectation of results. And then suffering from this tight space which we can't move. Actually, in the place in which I trained, some people here did too, in the same place, something was done there which I swear I'd never do, and I'm about to do it. Say that it takes most people 3 days to sort of slow down a little bit. I don't know what the expression that was used then, it's too long ago. I always wondered, why do they say this? Because maybe it's not so, and then you're sort of pushed into a pattern. But a lot of people report it. So tired, so drowsy, so unaware, so enmeshed in thoughts. So maybe it's helpful at times to not berate oneself, but realize maybe that's the way it is if one comes from one's overly busy daily life, working, family, commuting, tensions at work, at home, with a husband, with a wife, with the children, with the dogs. We talked about that last night. And then, to top it all, our entertainment. Constantly engaging and bombarding this brain with input, which gets faster all the time. Absolutely amazing. If one doesn't watch television very much and every once in a while tunes in, it's a dizzying affair. like being on a carousel, the speed with which things come at you, engage the mind, or just bombard it, particularly the ads, but the movies too. Hard to fathom how people can watch television till late hours and go to sleep. Or maybe complain that they can't sleep. The brain just keeps doing this kind of stuff. It's not so much the content as the process being provoked, of firing. I don't quite know what it is, but it's been investigated. Neurons firing at a different rate, or lights flashing. The whole body has been zapped. And our rest is affected by it, our restfulness. So with all of this, we come to retreat. Maybe, as one person described, 10 hours of hairy driving. Being in an airport, it's incredible charge. And on the plane, that speed. One doesn't feel it when one's sitting in it, but when one puts down, one is still speeding. It takes me quite a while to recover from a plane ride. Just to be physically at ease afterwards, and not in this sort of whatever it is that the speeding through the skies has brought about in the body. This is such a sensitive instrument, the body. It responds to everything, and according to cause and effect. And effects we don't like and hassle with, or feel bad about, get discouraged over, and don't connect it with the causes. Somebody recently said in a beautiful metaphor, downstream we're trying to clean up the pollution, and upstream we keep pouring it in. And we make no connection between the two. So, be it as it may, whatever our life is coming here, may have sounded very critical of it. Not condemning ourselves for this is such a useless thing which is being dropped more and more, blaming and fault-finding. It doesn't clarify a thing, just adds to the mush. So, arriving here, hoping to find peace of mind, quiet sitting, quiet walking, quiet contemplation maybe. Instead, it's thought, firing. The firing of the neurons, projecting images and commandments and blames and comparisons. Can one sit with it quietly, spaciously, letting it happen, realizing it's the effect of causes, of previous causes? Not trying to do something about it, but becoming aware of it at times with a gentle, non-fault-finding listening, a non-blaming listening, and letting it be wide to include the snow, the wind, the flight of flocks of birds lighting at the bird feeder. When the little birds are there. When the big birds come, the little birds go. When the big birds are gone, the little birds are back. Just to see it all. You could say, oh my God, I want to see this anymore. It's so repetitive. It's always the same thing. Always these blue jays, always those other little things. I don't know their names. when we all know that state in which we get so almost nauseous at the repetitiveness of life, inside, outside. What is that state of mind, I want to know, in which one almost can't take the repetitiveness anymore? And some people, particularly in this country, but I don't know so much about others, sometimes go out of this nausea with life and with their life and go shoot somebody. Or maybe 7 people in a McDonald's or something. Not being able to take it anymore. This prison-like existence, in always the same, and the flatness of it. And here we're asking, can that be listened to in a fresh way? The flatness of the thoughts and feelings. Because from a high stimulation state, we drop into a state of withdrawal. The body doesn't have its usual, not just the caffeine, if one gives it up for the time of a retreat. Some people do this. And of course there's the effect of that. First the cause of the caffeine, the stimulation, then the cause of the not taking it and the withdrawal, the blarness of feeling, the tiredness, drowsiness. Some people say the first 3 days I do mostly sleeping. So, all right. I don't say what's the use of that. Sleeping. Waking up, how does one wake up? Still drowsy? To just watch it all as though one was following a long-term experiment, which is ourselves. Not reading it in books and journals, but watching the live thing unfold under our eyes, curious eyes and ears. And to watch the incredible effect of the thought, I shouldn't have thoughts anymore, or it doesn't change. For other people it may have changed. To just watch the effect of the thoughts on the whole body, either anger and irritation, or else despair, discouragement. Just a thought like that. If that thought hadn't arisen, there would just be the coming and going of thoughts. Maybe this is what the person was referring to. Why am I here? Why not be any place else? There, at least I don't worry about what's happening to me. Don't worry about thoughts. But why did you come here in the first place? Because it felt so prison-like? Elsewhere? So faded, flat, unalive? Isn't that why most of us come here? And this yearning to find out what we are, what this is all about, hasn't started here. It starts in individual human beings who then find a place where this can be looked into more intensively with like-minded people. This is how it starts and has operated throughout the ages. Human beings, not just living darkly, drowsily, sleepily, unaware, but waking up every once in a while and wondering, what is this all about? Can I go further into this? Find out about it. Question what I am, because I don't seem to just be all of these ideas and remembrances and good and bad feelings. There's something else. Maybe one has just read it and heard it. But to a lot of people this has dawned in a moment of, I don't know what, openness, insight, waking up. So is it possible to learn to be with what's there uncritically and yet see what's there, not look the other way? And not want to see the immediate use of it, because in this moment of just being here and listening, I couldn't tell the use of it. It's just being here, alive, in touch with each other, with the snow, the clouds, the trees, the deer, the whole universe. That being here doesn't ask for answers or meanings. It has its own meaning, if you want to put it that way. And it may blow over again, like in a blizzard of thoughts and yearnings and wants and comparisons. Or one's old ingrained commandments, you're no good, or you're just deluding yourself. That was just another deception. And then believing these evaluating thoughts that come up, as though they were telling the truth about ourselves. I wouldn't believe any thought. I would listen to it, weigh it, examine it, keep it open if it's an open question, but not believe that it's telling the truth. Thought is too incomplete, too incapable. It's not capable of telling truth. It can state something, but what it states is not words or thoughts, or what it points to. So how freshly can we be with what seems so unfresh, so old, so used up, so repetitive? It's a challenge, isn't it? To let it be there and let the swirling snow on the roof also be there. Not know what to make of it all. Open up. And not take so seriously the programmed, taped stuff that keeps running through this body-mind. Actually, in observing thoughts, really looking at what's going on, one finds it disappears. The thought sort of goes. You can't get a hold of it. But with this kind of sustained looking or listening, the whole process does slow down. It can be found out by each one of us. And by the time day 5, 6, 7 rolls around, most people report that it has slowed down. Sometimes even ceases for a while. And then we create other problems. No thought, no me. When there's no thought, there's no me, because me is a thought. A complex, very complex thought, emotion, feeling thing. Actually, once this questioning and wondering and at moments being awake, once this has started, I don't know whether we can give it up, even if we want to. It has started on its own, and it keeps going on its own. How can it be buried when it happens in a very unexplainable, spontaneous way in the first place? And maybe eventually one will notice a greater lightness with things, not taking things so seriously, not reacting so strongly, becoming simpler. Less cluttered. More down to earth. I can tell this in doing lots of group discussions now in many different places. Usually it is the case that people who have been doing this, retreating, looking, questioning for a long time, are more down to earth with their concerns, with their questions, with their comments, more in touch, less just intellectually involved. By which I'm not putting down intellectual involvement at all, because to even clearly understand intellectually something that is clearly put in words, to understand that intellectually quite clearly is helpful. It has its own helpfulness. It may bring about a direct seeing. One has heard something about how the mind works, images arising, their effect on the body, and then the body itself signaling danger in case of fear to the brain. This makes sense if one has never observed it. But the making sense of it, the clarity intellectually, has a helpful function. For once, it replaces some false notions we have about ourselves, and we have plenty of those. False ideas, false beliefs, in there being an I behind every thought, a thinker. There being an independent me who has pains or has thoughts. These are all deeply ingrained false notions, which a clear intellectual understanding of a different mode can replace. Replace the false with something that is more accurate. But it also may aid in coming upon it, seeing it directly. Because an urge may be set up too. I understand it intellectually, but what is it really like? And with such urgency, attention gathers. And attention is energy to look. The danger of the clarity of a statement is that one takes that to be the truth, and to deceive oneself that one has seen the truth if all that has happened is understand the clarity of a statement. And the difference between that, no one can, well, it can be pointed out, but it remains incomprehensible until one sees for oneself the difference between seeing something and clearly intellectually understanding something. And that is possible for us to discern has been proven, I don't know how many times, by people who come upon something directly in what we call this work, not due to any specific time or factor or cause, but it happens. To see the difference between seeing something, hearing the cracking door, and just thinking the door is cracking. Or hearing somebody else say this and remaining just with that statement. hearing the wind itself is not so difficult right now, is it? Or the no wind. Whatever sounds there are. But so quickly the brain performs its designated or ingrained function to formulate it, put it into words, make a picture of it. And then there is the confusion between the picture and the real thing. The picture usually having tremendous power to masquerade as the real thing, the real person, the real landscape. It's just a picture. We were talking in one group meeting, or was it two? Well, what's the use of being awake? What's the value of that? And several people were mentioning. To see the pain I cause myself and others. Maybe if there's some awareness, next time it won't happen. Once I'll spare myself and others that pain. Because I understand the process and I see the process as it arises, referring to an image and projecting it on a person or blaming him. Whatever. One person said, don't only mention seeing the pain and the pain I cause and cause myself. Also mention the beauty of looking out the window or walking outside. The trees covered with snow. The hills, the clouds. Being attentive for a moment, a beautiful universe reveals itself. And the joy of beholding it as it is. Then maybe thought coming in and wanting to make something of it and make something out of myself seeing it this way. That can all be observed with some amusement or bemusement. Here it is again. Or maybe one sees it for the first time. Or again for the first time. The mind wanting to make me into something, into a beholder of truth. Which is imagery. It's not the real thing. Someone said this morning, looking out of the window, or was it outside, I don't remember, what was seen was a sharp shadow across the white snow. A sharp, dark shadow across the white snow. And that had no meaning whatsoever. As we talked about it a little bit, no meaning, no connection with me either. The person said it sort of seemed to be in a void. Asking a little bit what that meant no me to step into the picture. It's my perception, I see it. This is what happens. We bring ourselves in connection with everything. Have to enter into the picture out of a long-standing habit of need for self-importance or whatever, for existence as something I can represent to myself in the brain. And that was absent at that moment. It was just that. Like, stark, dark shadow across the white snow. No me in there, just this, and therefore no particular meaning. Didn't point toward anything beyond itself. And then when this happens and thought begins to contemplate about it, often it raises fear, pain. Does this mean I'm not important? I'm dispensable? I'll disappear? If I lived like this, where would I be? Would my pleasures go by the wayside? This is what thought says, speculates, and arouses physical accompaniment. Anxiety, irritation, whatever. It's all observable. But usually we don't observe, we just take it all so seriously and get enmeshed in it. And tighten up, close up. One person said, my inner armor. That was the question. Can my inner armor also be observed? The person asked. Find out. If you hadn't observed it and felt it, you wouldn't be able to talk about it. What does it feel like? What is it made up of? What makes it into armor? Ideas of what will happen to me. Somebody will hurt me. I will get hurt. Listen to it deeply, lovingly. Not blaming or wanting to get rid of it. And then the armor will open up. By that I mean reveal itself. That's already an opening. How it feels. What thoughts issue from it. What imagery. Maybe what memories bubble up. Who knows? It may all evolve out of this question, what is this? And listening kindly, not pushingly or threateningly. whatever is there in the mind, outside, in the body, can it be left alone? Allowed to come and go. We will end here for today.